Welcome back to another edition of Research Fantasy Presents our MLB DFS hitter picks for Friday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, 2017. I'm Nick from CWE here to break down my three favorite tournament hitters today. Let's not waste any time. Let's start things off with Marwin Gonzalez, 3K on FanDuel, 3,300 on DraftKings. This has nothing to do with the matchup at all. Jesse Chavez, not a great pitcher, not a horrible pitcher, but Marwin Gonzalez is just absolutely locked in right now. Over his last 6 games, and in one of those games, he actually sat. And actually, it's 6 games, but really 7, but it's 6 if you don't count the one where he just pinch hit. He's had no less than 16 fantasy points. He's hit 6 home runs in that span. The man is just swinging a hot stick. That's all it really comes down to. Now, I tend to not want to... Once a series moves, I become a little apprehensive until I see how he performs in the first game of that series. I know I'm a weirdo, whatever, but I just think that this is one of those plays where a guy's just so hot at the plate right now that I'm not saying you go ahead and lock him in, but he's not a popular DFS pick because he's Marwin Gonzalez. And you know that the floor is going to fall out sooner rather than later, but why would you pass on potentially, 15 to 35 fantasy points depending on the site that you play just because he's not a good name and we know that it's going to end eventually? I'm willing to take a little bit of a risk. Tough to say how many people are going to go on the bandwagon today, but no one's swinging a hotter stick in baseball than Marwin Gonzalez right now. He's the first guy I'm looking at in my tournament lineups. Next up, let's go to Tampa Bay. Let's talk Steven Souza Jr. 4 home runs on the year, hitting reasonably well for average. Kind of been cold. He was really cold through the Toronto series, really cold through the Miami series, but I'm a believer in his talents. Last year and years before, we knew that we could lock him in against left-handed pitching. Like I said in the pitcher video, while I like Liriano as a tournament option, don't think for one second that I'm not going to hedge a little bit on some of these Rays bats because they're a feisty little lineup, and when they get going, for some reason, they just cannot be shut down. And Souza Jr., you don't want to say he's due because I think that's kind of a stupid thing to say. But everything lines up for him to have the potential to have a good game. The ball's in his court to get that done now, but ultimately, with how he's hit against lefties in the past, you have to have a little bit of interest in him tonight. I'm trying to decide, do I want to rant or do I want to just, move on, give the play and move on? Well, I'm going to do a little bit of both. My top tournament play tonight and probably my top cash game play tonight. And mind you, there's a game in Coors, Nationals in a good spot, so we got some offenses that set up and look a little better than everyone else. In fact, really, Baltimore and Colorado are the top hitting parks going. Most everyone is in a pitcher's park, but I don't care about all that. I don't care if it was the 2 junkiest pitchers in baseball on the mound in Coors. I'm going to play Michael Conforto against Tom Kohler every day of the week. Let's look at Tom Kohler's stats against lefties in 2017. 543 WOBA, 51.5% fly ball rate, 42.9% hard contact, and I think the home run rate to lefties somewhere between 25 and 30% too. Just absurd numbers. Will they regress? Yes. But this is a very lefty-heavy Mets lineup, so this is a horrible situation for Kohler. Now, what's my rant part? For the love of God, DraftKings, you cannot price this offense continuously at sub 3,500 prices. You're going to spend $4K on FanDuel for Michael Conforto, which is, and FanDuel's always been the much more wide open pricing because they want people to feel like they could put whoever in. DraftKings, 3,700. He'd been 3,500. He's been 3,300. Jay Bruce is still 3,500. I have no idea. Let's see, Asdrubal Cabrera, 3,600. All these guys have been hitting like crazy. What in the world is DraftKings thinking? And I know as DFS players, you want to be selfish and you want to say, well, I like them at that price because I could play them and still build a good lineup around them. Well, guess what? These stats aren't something I have special privilege to. Everybody and their mother is going to know that Tom Kohler is a horrible pitcher against lefties, as if they don't already know. And they're going to know that the Mets are all lefties, and they're going to know that Michael Conforto is a good hitter on a streak right now where he's just coasting. So you're going to end up with 50% ownership in cash games at this price on DraftKings. I'd have to assume that number has to eclipse 60, maybe even 70%. You're going to see the Francisco Lindor effect. That's what I've decided to call everything on DraftKings whenever Lindor plays against a subpar pitcher, where Lindor at a shortstop position that isn't great is continuously just 41% owned in large tournament fields. Crazy. And he's priced up, but it's just the discrepancy between his talent and the next highest guy. Well, I hate to break it to you, there isn't much of a discrepancy between half the guys in the mid-4s to Conforto in the mid-3s. So he needs priced up. It's unfortunate because I would pay $4,500, $5K just to be able to use him, knowing that most other people would, or not most other people, but people would have to think, especially with the game and cores, this is just a way for them to get another bat in their lineup now. So you're going to get great plays. So be prepared for the Diamondbacks Mets stacks to hit you side the face tonight and probably turn out pretty well. We've seen at least one set of games this week where the chalk crushed it. I'm talking about the Matt Latos Yankees game specifically, and the Josh Harrison home run streak that was going on for a couple of days. So it's entirely possible the Mets score 10 runs, entirely possible the Diamondbacks score 10 runs, and it's entirely possible that, 7% of the field is running with some kind of a stack of those players. But nonetheless, I digress. I'm sure we'll see in a couple weeks DraftKings finally respectably price the Mets, and it's really just the Mets, but we'll hopefully see those prices get adjusted. So once again, top 3 favorite tournament bats today: Marwin Gonzalez, Steven Souza Jr., Michael Conforto. Please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel below. Head over to researchfantasy.com, sign up for our MLB mailing list, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Research and Win, and join us again tomorrow.